Outer Orange.
Today, we're gonna talk about some Kyouka. I am here with one of the topping lists of Kyouka, and you'll notice that this list is very similar to current Kyouka, and the biggest difference is just the Vanguard. And some people have really been talking a lot about this deck, the strengths of it, and how it's gonna be a very strong lyrical deck. I kind of want to break it down to you guys about what this deck is doing versus what it was already doing, and kind of explain to you why it's stronger now. So basically, to break down Kyouka originally was a deck where it just basically filled a board through revival and had this restander here that says at the end of battle your Kyouka attack. If you played a magazine, you can counterblast, soul blast, restand her, and you can do this on both sides. And she also gets power on her own, and then you also can give her more power based on your magazine cards, another persona, and then also playing orders, you get even higher power. So those is basically what the deck was doing. We also got this new card that basically lets you grab more magazines off the fire and grab persona rides back, on top of her also being a target when you check top 5. In case you happen to whiff or whatever, you can choose her as a target, which made the consistency of the deck a lot more impactful, on top of also being able to run energy cards to kind of help just draw more cards, fence set, which also lets you bounce cards back to hand, and then also you have the double order package. You can play 2 orders a turn as long as you play the grade 3 first, and then go into the grade 1, drawing you a ton of cards, reviving your board, and basically just doing that setup over and over again. The deck, once it starts, it keeps looping the same setup over and over again, and then you're just going there. Now this deck actually isn't running the grade 1 that draws a lot, which is very interesting, but I'm just using this deck as an example. There's a grade 1 that just says at the end of battle, it boosted, you can retire it to, you can put it to soul to draw, which is also pretty good, but I guess they just valued the engine of Eileen better, which makes sense. It makes sense because now, since you have the access to attack, this deck's a little different. But that's how the deck used to be. What's changed about Kyouka? Let's talk about Kyouka real quick. This is the Make-A-Wish Kyouka. This is the new one. Her ability says she's a dress-up card. She also counts as the Make-A-Trend Kyouka. So if you were to persona ride between the two, you can get both. You can get persona ride, so that's just really nice. But during her turn at a Vanguard Circle, if you played a magazine order this turn, all your units are get plus 5k. This was already a thing in the past, but we have an additional cost. It says, and if your opponent's Vanguard is great 3 or greater, all of your units, including Kyouka, can attack from the center back row circle and get plus 5k. So she basically got a 6th attack. That's basically the main thing. Her other effect, which is also really nice, it doesn't really matter which one you do because neither were very costly to begin with, but you can once per turn Soul Blast or Energy Blast 2. Choose one of the grades you declare, very similar to her old effect. You look at top 5, and then you pick the declared grade, or you pick up a magazine card and you reveal it, and then you you add it to hand and you shuffle your deck. So what's interesting about her is in the past she called it to the board. This one added to hand, which is actually a lot better in my opinion. This was basically the same effect that the grade 1 in her ride line has, but now it's on the grade 3, and I actually think this is definitely stronger. I actually didn't know that. I thought it called to the board, but it does not call to the board. Very interesting. Very similar to the old one. It's literally just a direct upgrade from what the old one was doing, so now you just have access to more. And you can keep bouncing back cards, and then you can keep bouncing back the same cards to get persona, and you're not just keep doing the same loop over and over again. It's a very fun loop, in my opinion. And like I said, it's pretty consistent, especially, like I said, this card, grabbing back your personas to hand is really massive, and then also being able to bounce cards back to hand with a friend set, and then also being able to restand on top of that. It's just a lot of stuff in the deck, and a lot of people just really respect it. I will say having the grade 3 in the back is really cool now, because then this engine will go online more. This one basically says grade 1, if you have 2 grade 1s on the board, you draw 2, discard 1. If you have 2 grade 2s on the board, you give something plus 10k power, and then if you have 2 grade 3s on the board, you counter charge. And by the way, it doesn't include Vanguard, so as long as you have another grade on the board, you counter charge. So what you can do is you could have a Kyouka in the front row, and then you have a Kyouka in the back row center. They'll be able to give you the counter charge, and then you can also attack with them, so you get like all the value you need in basically one thing. So it's really good. I think this deck's powerful. Is it the best lyrical deck? I'm actually not sure. I actually think that Michu might stand a chance and actually might be a little bit stronger. I've been kind of looking into Michu a lot more recently. I'm gonna look at another list here, just so you guys have an idea of what another list would look like, because this one looks almost identical to current Kyouka. This is literally the only thing that changed this list, but there are some people that run some of the support, and I wanted to show you guys what what the deck looks like with the added support, which is usually the grade 2, which is this one right here. This is a very popular card that is also being run in Kyouka decks. Let's talk about her real quick. This says, during your turn, if you played a magazine order this turn, you get plus 5k. If you played a magazine order this turn by paying the cost of Energy Blast 2, put this into Soul, you can look at top 7 cards, choose this unit and up to 1 unit with different card names, call it a Rearguard Circle, or choose up to 1 magazine, review it, and add it to your hand. So basically, she's just a way to kind of keep looking through your deck, keep finding cards, and keep pushing, and she also shoves herself into Soul. I will say, I'm a little iffy about this card. I kind of understand the reason for this build, because this one, you have to, You have to find her, and you have to find another thing and called a Rearguard Circle. I will say getting 2 to the board is pretty nuts, and it also makes it a really easy to set up. So it kind of just depends on what you're interested in. But she has an Energy Blast card, and I will say I personally really value the Energy card, and you'll notice that this deck is not running the Energy cards, but instead they're running the draws to kind of fulfill that, whereas when we saw here, they went over to the fronts because they have the Energy cards to fulfill draw. So it's kind of up to you, the approach you want to go. I will say deck thinning 2 is pretty good if you hit, you know, so also just getting cards like these out or the Kyouka or whatever out is also a really good way. I also notice this one's running the yellow T, which is also a good way to just remove board and say no. But anyway, so long story short, a little bit of a different build, but it has a very similar concept. This one just doesn't, this one you have to run the draw triggers though, because like I said, the energy cards are very strong. And also the energy cards do have persona effects on them, and this is a persona-esque deck, so that's another reason why you may want to value the energy cards, because they do get effects as rear guards as well in this specific situation. So something else to kind of keep in mind as you're building which route you want to go. I'm more leaning towards this route. I think this is a little bit better, but I would need to test to be like 100% with you to know which way I want to go. One thing I like about this deck, it's actually pretty easy to build. There's really only so many slots you can work with, and you can't really go super techie with this deck. Before, it was easier to go more techie. Now there's kind of like a streamlined deck, and you can only add a couple cards here and there. But up to you, the approach you want to go. I think either version you go is going to be fine. It's just kind of up to you. I will say I'm not a fan of into soul cards during main phase. I like to just have dudes on the board to kind of do their thing. Not really a fan of like stuff disappearing and then having to refill that stuff, but this one in particular disappears and refills herself differently. I will say once you run out of copies, you run out of copies. Like you can't search her anymore, but you can search other stuff, and you can't really send her back to deck. You could with a different card, but you're not really going to get much value out of it. There's a grade 1 that can send her back. You can stack her and then you can search her that way, but you're not going to run that grade 1 just for that effect, to be honest. So it's not really a good thing to go for. But long story short, this is what the future of Kyouka is looking like. So if you're interested in getting into Kyouka, don't forget to subscribe and comment and all that wonderful stuff, because you think I'm awesome, right? Yeah, do that. I'm telling you all this awesome information, right? That's how this works. But anyway, what I'm getting at is if you want to prepare now, I would highly recommend picking up the front set. She is obviously a very strong pick. Kyouka just got reprinted. I would recommend getting into Kyouka since she is getting reprinted. I will say this might be a very hard card to obtain. I don't remember if there's a reprint for her or not, but she is currently very expensive from just the English side alone, so this might be one of the hardest pickups for you if you don't already have it. I would recommend definitely picking up this card, and that's probably the main stuff you really need. You don't really need the other Kyouka cards as much, but if there were to be a Kyouka card to pick up, I would recommend, and let me go find her real quick, Wild Red. She is a really powerful card on her own. All she really does is draw, but I will say sometimes you really need the draw, so this is just another pseudo card you can kind of look into as you're building Kyouka decks. If you value this, you play this. If you value Kyouka, you play Kyouka. You kind of have to pick one or the other. You can't really have both if you're trying to aim for the new Kyouka stuff. So it's kind of up to you which route you want to go. I will say the drawing's nice, and she can activate early on, but it just kind of depends on what kind of board state you're looking for and just kind of where you want to go from there. But this is basically Kyouka. I might do another video where I kind of break down sort of what the board looks like, because this is definitely one of those decks where you have to set up the board the same way every time, and if you don't set it up correctly, if you don't soul blast the right cards, then you're kind of going to be in a weird loop. There's one more thing about this deck. It's very counterblast heavy, so you gotta be very cautious how you're using your counterblast. You can deny yourself if you hit OT. You actually don't do much, but the cool part about this deck is very different from the older decks, is that this one's very reliant on just soul and kind of doing just soul stuff. But the biggest issue is if you want to play orders, you'll notice they're kind of counterblast locked and you can't revive. They can be put in a weird position if you deny yourself counterblast. So just be careful how you're using your counterblast. Make sure you don't go super crazy. If you deny yourself, try to figure out how to play around the denial, but that's where the Kyouka really comes in, because you can still call cards out and then bounce them back. And something else to keep in mind, this deck has almost no soul issues. It actually has too much soul sometimes. You'll definitely have a lot of room to experiment with that as well. So that's all I really have. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a Kyouka breakdown. If you guys like these kind of breakdowns, I'll try and do more of them. I will say I can't read Japanese, so I can't like sit on these cards like all the time, but I try to do my best. If I already know the deck, then talk about it. This is a deck that I've been playing literally since it dropped. I've been playing Kyouka since day one. I've had these cards. I've been playing this deck. It's been one of my favorite decks to play. I have videos of deck profiles I've done in this deck plenty of times. Definitely been one of my favorite decks. I'm currently playing it right now. I do think it's a little bit weaker now, but I haven't even currently playing it. It is definitely a deck I've been basically brewing since its release. So I know a lot about this deck. It's a very fun deck, and I just love just checking top 5 and playing around with that top 5 concept. It's just really cool, and the deck that you is cool. But there, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, 50 cards on shop, code orange if you need goodies. This set is dropping pretty soon. We have set 3 first, and then after that is this set. So this is the Lyrical set 4. deck. The deck that's coming out. This is the Star Twinkle set that will be dropping relatively soon, so stay tuned for that. It's a really, really beautiful set. Got a lot of pretty cards, so code orange to save yourself money while you're shopping around with 50 cards. So anyway, the other guys, peace out. Like, subscribe, comments, leave me below. What's your favorite lyrical deck? What is if you play lyrical or have tried lyrical, or even art-wise, what is your favorite one? Comment below in the comments. On that, guys, peace out. Dos vidanos. See you guys in a future video. Bye.